as you can see, I am, now that I have the sub-row bed in, and I'm actually starting to lay some of my track down. Basically, the purpose of me laying the track down right now is once I get all the track laid out, I'm going to actually take something and outline around the whole track. So that's where I know where all the track pieces are going to be in place and so forth. And then I'm going to basically remove all those track pieces so I can start putting in all of the landscaping elements, figuring out where I want to put in rivers and so forth and all that. Now, I have designed all that with my track planning software, and that's exactly what I'm using here to figure out where to put pieces and what pieces to put where. But sometimes when you plan something and then you start implementing it in real life, you'll notice that maybe this piece doesn't quite fit where you thought it would. Speaking of track planning software, I'm using a software called AnyRail. And as you can see, with AnyRail, basically I have all my track planned laid out. I'm working on just a small little section right here. And you notice that right here, and I'll be showing you this a little closer up, but you'll see all the numbers of all the track pieces. Now each one of these track pieces has its own little part number. So that's how I know this piece goes there and that piece goes there. Now the track that I'm using is basically, it's a Bachmann Easy Track. Mainly I'm using that because it's what I like, and I really have never had any problem with Bachmann Easy Track. Some people in the model railroading community, they kind of poo-poo on Bachmann Easy Track. They actually kind of poo-poo on anything Bachmann. But my experience, at least up till now, I have not had any problems with Bachmann Easy Track. Matter of fact, I've had a lot of success with Bachmann Easy Track. I haven't had some of the problems that people have said where, well, derails and it's cheap and it falls apart. But I haven't had any of those issues. So, but that's just my opinion. So I'm going to, so basically, I'm going to set this aside for now. And we're going to go upstairs and up to my office. And I'm going to show you how to use AnyRail. So that way, if you want to use the software and you want to design your own track plan, you'll know how to do it. So I'll see you upstairs.
All right, everybody. We're right now we're sitting in front of my computer, and basically I'm going to show you a little bit about AnyRail and basically how I use it. Now, AnyRail is a pretty intense software. I mean, it's you can do a lot of things with it that I know I'm not really using anywhere near all the functions with this. So basically but I'm just, like I said, I'm going to show you what I know of the software, how I use it, and so forth. So I'm using the latest version of AnyRail, which is AnyRail 6. So I'm going to go ahead and fire it off. And as you can see, it kind of like it opens up when you open it up. Opens up to kind of a blank canvas. I can't speak today. You got a thing over here. It says layers. The reason why it's saying here it's got HO Bachmann Easy Track is because that was the track that I was working on. Now you can have all this closed out. As a matter of fact, pretty much what you see here is what you would see if you basically loaded this up for the very first time and are using it. So basically you got up here at the top, you have file. You have basically save as, typical standard file stuff. I'm going to show you a little bit about the export thing here. You can export this as a picture, as a PDF, as a 3D file. Never tried that. Train Player, I actually have tried this, and I actually have ran my layout in Train Player. It works, but it doesn't work. Probably part of that is I don't really know a whole lot about Train Player and how it works. And then you can also load, take this out to a JMRI, which is kind of cool. You can view as a 3D and so forth as that. You can also change languages. They have some options here. Options is basically some general track icons, different things here. You got your library options. So this is kind of cool. And I actually never turned this on or off, but it makes sense because if you're not using any of these scales, why bother even having them turned on, right? So pretty much I go with HO, so why not stick with HO? Colors, these are some of the colors. You can actually change it. That's kind of cool. Text, so this is basically your texting options. User objects, that's kind of cool. And languages, you can come in here and change this to some different language files. All right. So that's it for file, and then you have your home tab. This is where we're at now. You have your show. Show basically is in a lot of other programs it's similar to view. So like you want to turn this on, turn that off, and so forth. To be honest with you, mostly what I do here is I change this to sleeper, and that's usually when I'm laying track. That's how I kind of have it. And then when I'm trying to, like what I was doing downstairs, which is laying out track, I change that to center line, and I turn on the part numbers, so that way I can see what part goes where. So that's kind of useful. Insert is for inserting lines, surfaces, and so forth. You can change your line width and the weight, and then you can add your circles. You can add a ruler. That's actually kind of cool. And then add text. Here's your track library. All right. Now, since I've turned off all of the other flavors, you notice it's only showing HL. If you didn't go and turn off all the other scales, you would see all of those scales here. So this is the reason why I'm only seeing the HO stuff. And as you can see here, besides, like I said, I use Bachman, but you can switch it over here to Atlas. You can go with Akato. You can do Pico. You can do Roco. You can do whatever you want. So you got lots of options here, as you can see. Some micro engineering in here and stuff, and what was that? Shinahara. Forget it. Can't spell it. Object libraries. So this is basically your scenery stuff, and it's only going to be the HO stuff, just like with your track stuff here. So you can add in some Walters structures. Now this is very limited. Now, what I can tell you though, what is nice here is they have this here thing called user objects, and you can sit here and download user objects. Now, the only problem with the user objects is they can take up some disk space. So just so you know, if you start downloading a bunch of all the new download user objects, it could start gobbling up a lot of disk space. As you can see here, it's starting to pull in a lot of stuff. I'm not going to let this run because, just for time. I don't want to sit here and take a lot of people's time. Settings. This is actually an important piece right here. So this is basically what you're setting up for your grid and how you want your work area. This is some slopes, how you want the flex of the flex track to work, and some different things. So this is actually very important. In the same way with this option right here, which is snap to grid. That's actually a very important thing too. So that's for like if you want your track to line up with the grid, that's becomes helpful. Okay. So now that I showed you just some of the basics here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to open up my layout. So basically this is my current layout that I'm using, and I have some details in here, but I'll be honest with you, I don't have anywhere near the amount of details in this as I need. Let me go ahead and show so like here, like I said, here you can show part numbers. I will show all your part numbers. You can switch over here to center line. So as you can see what that does, right? And here you can do your insert and so forth. So let me go ahead and turn on layers. So basically, when you're designing your layout with AnyRail, you don't want to have everything mashed into one layer. And the reason why you have it set up like that is so that way if you want to turn off something, as you can see how I got some of these light bulbs that are turned off. Like if I don't want to see the track and I'm just, just want to shut it off for now, you click that little light bulb and it turns off all of the track. And I turn the track on. If I want to just see the track and I don't want to see structures, you sit here and you turn off all the structures. If you want to see the river and lakes, that these are layers that I've created, and you just click the add layer button. You see these little padlocks next to there. That means that those layers are locked. So for example, I click on track. Now I can come in here and I can do modifications to the track. That's the reason why I have a layer and I have it called nothing selected, because you'll notice that when you're on track, you can't lock it. So you have to click and unlock another section. So the reason why I created nothing selected is so I can have everything turned off and not have the possibility of accidentally moving something or deleting something. And that's actually important. Here you got the little X next to it. That's how you can actually delete your layers, which I'm not sure why you would want to do that. Well, I can't say not sure. I mean, if you're like, if you want to put in like, say you want to add a layer, and we'll just call this, you know, with just double clicking on layer 14, and just call this, let's call this like track test, right? So say you want to like put in some track and you're just wanting to do it to just test out to see how things would look and flow. You could do that and then you could say, I didn't like that. And you just delete it, right? Delete the whole layer. Or what you could do is once you get something the way you want it, you can actually then copy it and then you open up this layer and you paste it, and now that's in your regular track layer. So that's kind of, kind of useful. So I'm going to basically go here to back to my nothing selected. I'm going to lock the track, and then I'm going to come here and click track test. I'm going to come to my track library because let's face it, this is the software is designed for doing track plans. So you're going to want to basically do lay track. So, and I'm using Bachmann. I'm going to go with Bachmann Easy Track. So before I go ahead and select that, I'm going to just click over some of these other options so that you can see Atlas. Atlas, you got your code 183 and your true track, fast track. You got some fast track there. Let's take a look at the Pico. There's got lots of Pico options here, as you can tell. Roku. There you go. It's different things. Here's Walters code 83. I don't see any Tyco. Haha, I can remember Tyco. Faller. I didn't know Faller even made track. It just shows you that. So anyways, here's Kato. So if you want to use Kato Unitrack, so that's just all the different options. So a little bit of some of the reasons why I chose Bachmann, because I really did think about using Kato Unitrack. So I'll pull up the library for Kato Unitrack, and as you can see, here's pretty much your library for Kato Unitrack, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the library for Bachmann Easy Track. So the reason why I chose Bachmann over using Kato Unitrack is because Bachmann's library is almost double the size of what you get with Kato Unitrack. So it's kind of the reason why I went with it, is because I just felt there were just more options using Bachmann. So, and it's kind of also the same way. So if you're wanting to go with track with hazards and includes the roadbed, I myself I think Bachmann's, at least as far as options, it's the best as far as giving you variations. All right, so we're in our layer, and I seem to have turned off my layer, so I'm going to turn the layer back on. Oh, actually, I just kind of like put this over top of one there, didn't I? There we go. Oh, well. Let's kind of put this right here. And let's go ahead and open up my track library. Seem to keep losing things here. There we go. Oh, that's because these are basically in their own. Yeah, I hate it when I do this. So either way, we'll make it work, right? All right. So anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put layers and make sure I'm on my track test. Come here and I'm going to open up the tab here for Bachmann Easy Track. And I'm going to go ahead and let's take a look here. And we're just going to put in some number 5 turnout. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll click there and I'll put in drop number 5 turnout in. So as you can see here, I can basically drop a bunch of number 5 turnouts and then I can highlight them all and I can click the delete key and it gets rid of them all. I hate this. I'm turning that off. How do you... somebody knows how to get that to basically go back in and repin it. I would love to know how, because there we go. Ah, I learned something new. You basically double click on the title bar. All right, so there we go. Go ahead and I'll pull up the Bachmann Easy Track and I'll double click that again. And look at that, it just went back in there and did that exactly what I didn't want. Oh well, all right, as long as it stays there, I'm okay with it. Okay, so like I showed you, we can add in that. So I'm going to basically look and add in some curves, right? So we got some curves in. And curves. More curves. Tell you what, let's zoom in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just holding the control key on my keyboard and zoom in so it makes it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. There we go. Dry. And as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm just taking the track, I'm clicking with my mouse, I'm not sure if you can see, holding it and just bringing it or moving it around. And then you just bring the one end to the other end and it just automatically, drops and locks in place. And that works whether you're using Bachmann Easy Track or whatever track, it doesn't matter. It works pretty much the same way. Okay, and just keep dragging and I'm just keep dropping. All right. So you pretty much get the idea. Now, Bachmann has a piece of flex track as well, just as, much of anything. So flex track, you can flex it, right? So all I'm doing is I'm just picking the end here. See these little plus signs, you can set there and, change the way you want things to flex. So basically that's how flex tracks works. So as you can see, this is really easy software for laying down a track design. And what's nice about it is once you get it set up the way you want it, you just basically click show. Switch this to centerline because I think that works best, and then click part numbers, and then you'll see all your part numbers so you know exactly what you have to order and all that. I wish this actually, once you did your track plan and had it all set up, I wish this actually you could had a report like you could print out and say, all right, well, this is all my part numbers. That would be actually kind of cool. But it doesn't have it. If you're AnyRail designer, feature you want to add. At least I can't find that. I don't think there's any reporting in this at all. All right, so I'm going to flip back to Sleeper and get rid of the part numbers. So I'll show you some of the other features. So basically besides that, you can see here I have this basically double arrowed line. That's turned off, so I can't touch it. But let me go ahead and insert what's called an add a ruler. So you just click in there and basically it drops in this here nice little 2-foot roller. So you can sit there and you put this at one end of something and you can say, that's 2 feet. And you can click up here and you could say, all right, well, I want this to actually be 36 inches or 3 feet, right? You can also take one end of it and stretch it and move it to wherever you want it, and it basically will measure out the distance between the 2 points. So that's what the ruler feature looks like, and that's how it works. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to insert a surface. So basically you click a dot and you add a dot and you click another one, you add another one. And as you can see, as you keep clicking, you're basically adding a surface. And then you hit escape to stop going. Now, as you can see, I got a nice little square. I'm going to click on my surface. It changes up here. And you can change your line color and your fill color, right? Or we can go with, let's go with a nice light blue with a light yellow. There you go. That really doesn't show up much. Let's go with that black. Here you go. So basically, this is how you can add your different surfaces and then, as you notice, the track, it slides kind of like right underneath there. That's kind of strange, right? Well, that's because, similar I don't know if you've used like PowerPoint or anything like that before, is the track is actually behind the surface because the surface, since it was the last thing I added, it's going to lay on top of everything. So if I want this to be behind the track, you see this option up here where I'm just going to go ahead and send it backwards. And now when I drag the track, it's actually on top of the surface. Now, as you notice that the roadbed of the track is still below the surface, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this backwards one more time and one more time, and well, maybe not. Maybe I have to send it all the way back. Well, maybe not. Maybe the roadbed always is below that. I thought I could bring it on top. Maybe not. All right, so as you can see, well, I'm an expert at this software. Just joking. As you can see, basically that's how using surfaces and so forth works. Now, say you want to make a riverbed. Well, rivers are not perfect squares, right? So basically what you do is you can right click on it and you can do what's called add points. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a number of points in here, right? And with those add points, you can then start, moving around those points. And essentially what you do is eventually what you'll get is you shape yourself up a little, like, let's see, move this around a little bit more, and you got yourself a little river, right? Well, you notice that has a little bit of a chiseled look. So let's go ahead and round off those edges a little bit, right? And you can see I'm just clicking here and clicking around the corner. And now we have a nice river. Or it could be a road, right? We go from river to basically fill color. And then let's change this to just a dark gray sort of look. There you go. Now you got a road. So that's pretty much inserting. If you want to insert just a line, you can insert a line. You can, keep. As you notice, I haven't hit escape on my keyboard, so you can keep adding lines until you eventually hit escape, and then it stops adding lines. Inserting a circle is not a whole lot different. Basically, the only difference is you don't really have to add the points. It just goes ahead and adds it. And then from here on, you can sit here and stretch this out. This is also another good way of actually creating a river or a pond or whatever, is you first just sit there and you add yourself a circle, and then you just sort of manipulate it a little bit until you get kind of the way you want it to be and so forth. I think this actually might be better for like adding a pond than a river, because most rivers are usually going to like if you're going to a flat edge of a surface, you want to use this feature here because you can then flatten it off right at the edge. For example, if I just, well, that's kind of behind it, but if I put it, here and you can actually rotate this a little, as you can see, and you can put it right up to the edge. Okay, so that's pretty much it for insert text. So you know, you know, hello everyone. So that's how you just insert text. Um, Track library I showed you, the object library I kind of showed you. Let's go ahead and just we'll drag in a let's go ahead and drag in a roundhouse. So basically all it does really is just give you the dimensions of the actual roundhouse. So it kind of gives you a general idea of how much track space it's going to take. So like if we're doing a turntable, now the turntable is kind of useful. But the problem is I haven't been a fit because I've even tried some other track libraries. Let's try some Atlas track. Let's see, little piece of 3-inch track. Oh, there you go. All right, so there we go. So let's try a piece of track from Bachman. All right. So as you can see, you can use this turntable, and I've never actually used the Walther's turntable before to see how it works. But as you can, so it looks like it doesn't matter, even though I think physically in the real world, I'm not sure how well Bachman Easy Track's gonna butt up into a Walther's turntable. Not without some modifications or something tweaked, but the system doesn't really take that much in consideration. Um, okay, so let's another feature I want to show you is the and I really don't use this much, but when you click on like an object, you basically like what a track object here. You got what's called, you can set the height, and you can change the elevation and so forth like that. Um, so you can even give it a custom label, like this is Jim. So I'm curious. I haven't actually tried this, so if I say show part numbers, no, it doesn't show. Oh, it does show a label. There you go. Yeah, see Jim. Okay. No. What I wanted to show you was the elevation piece of this. So basically, if we click on that, you can come up here and you can change the elevation, and you can say, all right, well, this has a 50 elevation. You don't really see it here, but if you actually view this in like a 3D view or you rotate it, you can actually tell. And also you can, the idea is so you can actually design your elevations of your track. So like if you want a track running underneath it and so forth. Like I said, I never really used that feature of it. So if you find that something you could use, then by all means. You also notice it has an option here called disconnect. You can also just click on the piece right here and hit the delete key, and that will disconnect it. When you have everything connected, everything moves around. So you have to remember to disconnect if you just want to move this, because otherwise you'll say, oh, let me move this, and you just moved all your track over, and you have to hit Control Z, which is pretty much universally standard for undo, and you undo it. You can also add isolators. I myself, I don't necessarily, like I said, don't do that here in the track plan. But I do make notes, like I'll put a note here like this is an isolated section, or I'll make a note that this is where I'm doing a track feeder and stuff like that. I don't actually, do any of that. Speaking of track feeders, Bachman EasyTrack has this nice piece of track, which is 44597. As you can see, it's got these like little things. That's for creating isolation. So if you use it in like a reverse loop, you actually right underneath the track, it's got the terminals you can actually disconnect it, so you don't have to actually use the isolators, that you would use on this track or have to cut the rail or anything like that. You just flip the track over and undo the little isolators, and it works really great. But what's cool about this is you can actually install your track feeder so you're not actually soldering on the actual rail. Which, if you're not a great solderer or you're worried about damaging the road bed, that becomes quite useful. Um, let's see. You have. I'm not sure really what glue does. I think it's so you can like take this piece and this piece and glue them together and they stay glued. I honestly don't ever use it. You got your settings, which I kind of showed you. You got your objects, your object library, and so that's pretty much showing you what I know. Up here at the top, you can add your commands and so forth. You have your new, open, save, undo, and so forth. All right. So that's pretty much it. Down here in the bottom corner is your zoom in and zoom out. And then, of course, you got your standard scroll bar stuff. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this layer. It's going to ask me I'm okay. And you notice everything that was associated with that layer is now gone. So that is Bachmann Easy Track. I'm hoping that Bachmann Easy Track. This is AnyRail, the software that I use to create my layout. Like I said, it's still missing a lot of details. I have another layout here that I actually had some more details in it. Let me turn on everything. Of course, this is actually at me. I was after I was messing with it. Save changes to no. There we go. You can see this is another layout I was actually designing before I started the one I started working on it. This has a lot more details in it. I got the stream here. I got some images. I got trees in here. As you can see, I have my elevation chart here, and I got my objects I put in that kind of go with the elevation chart to show you the different heights of the elevation. So it kind of shows this. I got where I got bridges and stuff. I got my little controller dude here and so forth. So this is kind of shows you just a little bit about what you can do with AnyRail. So that's pretty much about all I got for today. Sorry for this video going extremely long, but sometimes tutorial videos do go on for a while. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for some more videos. I got quite a few things I'm planning on videotaping and showing, bringing up there. Bye.